Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wellness with EAC. My name is Nicole Gwanzura, and I am so happy and privileged to be your host every single week. I am here with you either on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Listen Notes. Literally just Google Wellness with EAC, and there's a platform on your phone or computer that you can play this podcast. Every single week, we're talking about all things career wellness. We might be talking about professional development, maybe your mental well being, sprinkling in financial literacy, and everything in between. I am a mama, wife, early career professional development, um, early career professional. Oh goodness, early career professional. And I'm really excited about all things to do with career development. And on this podcast, I love having guests that can come and talk about their experiences. They can come and share the behind the scenes of who they are, what their journey is. And today is no different. I will tell you that my promise to you as a listener that every single guest I have on the show is pre-vetted. I've gotten to chat with them. I trust the essence of who they are, and so when they tell you their story, it's honestly just a privilege to tune in. And then also, if you reach out to them to share, you're going to get the same experience that you're getting from them on the show. Today is a fun episode as we are part of the higher ed series right now on the show. We have our very first college student guest, and I'm so excited for you to learn from my guest today. Meghan is absolutely incredible. She is going to be a sophomore this year at Rutgers University. She'll have an opportunity to share a little bit more about her journey, the cool things she's been doing, lessons that she's learned, and I cannot wait to dive in. So without further ado, Meghan, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you, Nicole, for being our host. My name is Meghan Calderon, and like was said, I'm just going into my sophomore year of college at Rutgers Business School. I'm double majoring in finance and computer science, as well as marketing. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Amazing, amazing. So let's get right into it. I mean, you are majoring and minoring in some really cool subject areas. Walk us back a little bit before you even got to Rutgers. What's your story and what was your motivation to attend college?
Yeah, so I came from a family of Mexican American immigrants. I guess before college, I didn't really know where I wanted to go to college, or I didn't really even know how to apply for any of that. And my parents obviously couldn't really give me any guidance on that because they had no experience about that either, and they didn't really know English. And actually, English wasn't even my first language, so I felt like a lot of things maybe I just didn't know the definitions of, even when I was applying to college. So before that, I just always made sure that I was good at school and made sure like to put my academics before anything else. And that's what was always taught to me, even if we didn't know where I was going to go after that. So
Yeah.
then when I got into high school, my only really source of help was my advisor, my counselors. And through that, they just advised me to take certain classes, make sure it looks good, make sure my grades are up. And then through that is where we started exploring the different universities I could apply to. And I
Hmm.
always thought that like Rutgers stood out because it was one of like the most diverse campuses, I think, in the Northeast. I loved Rutgers Newark, especially because it's so small that there's so much community there. And it's also the state school, and I just always kind of like, although I was everywhere, I think the majority of the time I did grow up in Jersey and I wanted to stay there, but also I was from like a really suburban area, so
Mm.
I didn't really have any experiences with other people that had the same like culture as me, or
Hmm.
maybe like religion, ethnicity, etc. So I was very excited about going out into the city and exploring that. And then I think my main motivation for doing all of this has been my family because they've always
Hmm.
done so much for me despite not having the same opportunities as I did. So I think that's my main motivator to keep going.
I love that. And it's so wonderful. Each of us have our own unique stories and our own unique values and motivators for what we do. But I think one of the most beautiful things is recognizing that and embracing that and using that to fuel your journey, which is exactly what you are doing. So, how do you choose your majors?
Yeah, so actually my majors were not at all what they are now when I first started. I think
Hmm.
when I started the summer before college, my set major was only marketing.
Hmm.
And that was always, I think I chose that because in high school I had written a book, and with that book came with like illustration, with it was essentially like marketing. I had to do everything by myself, and I
Hmm.
was always like good at English, but I was also good at math. And I was like, what do I do? I have no idea what I want to do. And I think everyone was just like, just apply to business school and like do the most fun major that you could choose. So I chose marketing. But then when I got into college, I realized like maybe I do want to do stuff with math. And then I started liking technology a lot. And especially like where I'm interning now, it's very tech focused. And I think I started to be like, okay, I really like that. And that's where I decided to choose my majors again and do finance, computer science, and then marketing as well. But I feel
Hmm.
like marketing is just going to be like a minor at this point.
You know what? I love that. And honestly, I don't even know what the stats say at this point about the average number of times a college student changes their major.
Yeah.
And it's all compounded
Lot.
with experience, right?
Hmm.
Your experience right now, you've had your internship, you're doing some really cool things and kind of understanding the why. For me, I came in as a psych major. I liked psychology. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to know how people's brains worked. And and then I realized how much more schooling I would have to do. And I was like, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
that committed to psych. I'm just curious, but not enough to go get a doctorate in this. So, what else could I do? I still love the psychology of how people's minds
Mm-hmm.
work. I am a very extroverted person, but I didn't like math. I did not like
Okay.
math at all. And somebody told me, and I foolishly listened, that marketing didn't have math. I don't know who that person is. Um, so I took it, and then there was quite a bit of math or math adjacent, but I really loved being a marketing major, and the way I've been able to utilize those skills has been such a gift. But I think with your combination, the beautiful thing about being in the business schools, there's so many probably common classes between the two
Mm-hmm.
majors and the minor that you can absolutely achieve that without overexerting yourself either.
Yes, I think a lot of the classes are the same, so I would still graduate like within 4 years and then get the
Yes.
two different degrees.
That is a big deal. And I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you knew the statistic right now. On average, first generation students are graduating within 6 years instead of
Mm-hmm.
four. That's the national average. And so, what seems standard, right? Like what you and I are talking about, seems standard for the 4 years is a huge accomplishment compared to what the national average is saying. So I kudos to you for doing that and just your motivation. So tell me about before we even get to the intern. Give me top three highlights from your freshman year of college.
Top three highlights. I'd say the first one was joining Alpha. I don't know if I've talked about that to you before, but it's the
Yeah.
Association of Latino Professionals from America. I think it has given me a lot of opportunity to discover what I really wanted to do. And it's a club.
Mm,
It's like the number one business organization at Rutgers Business School currently. And yeah, I think it just gave me a sense of community that I didn't have before. So that's
mm,
definitely a big highlight. Um, Another highlight has been meeting people outside of the business school because I have also had classes like on the main campus. So I've met people
mhm,
with different majors like psychology, public relations, things like that. And I think that that's really cool because I get to meet people that do science and not just maybe like a business. And they have so many, there's like the personalities are so different from one school to the next. And
mhm,
then I'd say the other is learning how to be alone because before I've always been with my family. And when I had to go to another city and live there, um, I think a lot of challenges came with it, but also it
Yeah.
was a big highlight because I learned a lot of things that I didn't know before, and I'm very grateful for that experience.
That is wonderful. And honestly, freshman year is the year of learning. You absorb a lot.
Hmm.
You get to really know who you are as an individual, and who you want to be and who you don't want to be,
Yeah.
who you want to surround yourself with and who you don't want to surround yourself with. You learn that very, very quickly. So let's dive into the summer. You've had, I'd say, probably a pretty more involved, engaged, and expansive summer than typical students who've just finished their freshman year. So, can you give us a little insight?
Yeah, so as soon as I finished my freshman year and finals were over, I packed my bags and I went to Italy to study abroad, which I got a scholarship through Rutgers to go study abroad because I was really interested in learning Italian and just the language and the culture. So what the
Hmm.
class basically consisted of was we went to Sicily, we stayed there, and we took two different classes. So one of the classes was just learning Italian, which I had already done on my own, so it was a little bit easier. And then the other class was learning history of Italy
Hmm.
and also um, how that merges in with like Greek and the Romans and all of that. So that's what I did. It only lasted, I think, about 3 weeks.
Hmm.
It was very nice though. I did a lot of things besides just like classroom learning. I did like learning how to make pasta from scratch, like different things like that. It was really fun. And then I think I came back to Jersey for 2 days and then got on
Hmm.
another flight to go to my internship. So my internship right now is at Nvidia and it's in their headquarters in California, which is where I am right now.
Yeah.
And this takes place for 12 weeks, but I'm going home a little bit earlier because I have to move into my dorm and then finishing my internship remotely. And then um also while I was doing my internship, I got flown out to Chicago to do an RSM a little conference that they had. And then I also went to Las Vegas last week for the Alpha convention, which was amazing.
That is incredible. That is absolutely incredible. I mean, that is the most epic summer, right? That you can think of. You're like, okay, so how do I even top this the next year? And for those who don't know, Nvidia has been rated the world's most valuable company, right?
Yes.
And that's a big deal. Here you are bringing the sauce and being an amazing intern at the world's most valuable company. I'm sure there's a lot of like thoughts or feelings about that you may be processing around it, but I hope the number one is, oh my goodness, like this is me. I've been saying a lot of times I've started going from saying who am I to this is who I am.
Yeah, I think it's been a lot to process. And
Hmm.
definitely when I first got the reply of like, oh, like you got in, I thought it was fake. Like I did not think it was real. I was so shocked. I was like, what? Because, and then when we got here, they told us that 8,000 people applied and they only selected 101 people to do the internship that I'm doing right now. And that's
Wow.
because, yeah, and I think that's because typically they only take juniors and seniors as interns, but they started a
Hmm.
new program called Ignite, which if anyone's watching this and you're finishing your freshman year or your sophomore year, you're eligible to apply for it. Where they take, yeah, they take freshmen and they also take sophomores. It's the first, I'm pretty sure it's the first year they ever did it. So I was very grateful that I just got into that right when they started it.
Yes, that's a big deal. And I will put that information in the show notes for the program
Mhm.
because this is incredible. And to be selected, I mean, the hiring in general, whether you're looking for a full-time job, an internship, externship, it's a messy, messy
Yeah.
situation out there right now. So thank you for not only just embracing the experience, but being willing to share it with others who are coming up after you. And so now thinking about going into your sophomore year, have you
Mhm.
started thinking about maybe what your goals might be? Or just in general, what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, as for goals, I felt like last year I kind of just did everything that I could because I felt, as a first generation student, I felt like I was behind and I felt like I needed to do all of these things to get ahead, even though I felt like I wasn't ahead. I was, and a lot of people would tell me, but I felt like I really burnt myself out and I
Mm,
didn't take care of myself mentally or like emotionally. I was just kind of
mm,
focused on the external things. So I think like a goal for sophomore year is to reassure myself a bit more and to focus more on how I'm feeling instead of how other people are feeling around me.
mm.
Um, I just want to prioritize myself more and just tell myself like you got this, like it's okay, like you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a goal. And then as for something I'm looking forward to, I think meeting new people, just
Mm-hmm.
having a lot more new experiences, and also maybe um seeing what else I would want to do with my career, if I want to stick with this, if I don't, and what I could potentially do in the future for that.
I love that. I love that. And I think recognizing too that, hey, I tried a bunch of things and but my well-being is going right to the top of the priority list is really important. And that's part of the learnings in career wellness is that no matter what you're working on, no matter what you're doing, if you are not okay, if you're super burnt out, then everything else you try to do, honestly, is going to be lackluster at best. And even if it looks great externally, you know, internal, it's all falling apart.
Mhm.
All falling apart. So I appreciate you just recognizing that and setting that as a goal for yourself. And it makes me think as well, you know, as you're just kind of thinking, somebody who's watching this and thinking, oh, Megan must be the luckiest girl in the world. Like, she just got this handed to her. Oh, she, you know, like whatever, right? Because perception, we know, is often not reality or close to. You worked so hard. You networked, you attended events. Can you share a little bit more? Because I think when people are reflecting on the success, they're not always thinking about the work and effort you put in behind this.
Yeah, share a bit more. Do you mean like what I did to get
Yeah.
to where I am? Yeah.
Yeah. So what you did to even like get, I know during the school year you had some
Mhm.
cool opportunities over the
Mhm.
summer. You got a scholarship to go to Italy. You didn't just sit there and with your hands wide open and say, you know, come, you
Mhm.
know, all these things come to me. You had to put in effort. So can you share a little bit about, you know, some of the efforts you put in to get to these opportunities?
Yeah, of course. So before my freshman year, I did an honors program called B-Star that I had to apply for, and that basically just gave us classes before we even went to our freshman year, so we were prepared for it. So we took two classes, so I got credits from those. I also finished with the highest GPA, so like every single night I would stay up and I would study and make sure that everything was perfect because I wanted the highest score. Um, so it was a lot of studying, but I think it paid off in the end. And we also did courses. I know Nicole, you would come in to talk to us as well. We did like
Hmm.
financial literacy. We did so many activities. We also met with a bunch of clubs. And then on Fridays, we were taken to go to the top four headquarters. So PwC, like Deloitte. So before I even started my freshman year, I had already networked and been to all of those offices and kind of already knew what was going on. And then I had also already set up my LinkedIn and had my resume polished from those activities. So I think when I went in, was already ahead of most people that start their freshman year not really knowing anything.
Hmm.
Especially because when you start school, they don't really tell you things that you have to learn outside of the classroom. It's kind of just like, this is what you have to do for your class. So you don't know
Yes.
about how to network or how to talk to people on LinkedIn or how to email people. And I think that really helped me because as soon as I started, I was like, I have to apply for something and I have to get
Hmm.
something. So I think as soon as I started, the first thing that I did in September was apply for an externship. I
Hmm.
applied for AT&T for marketing and strategy, and I got it. So AT&T definitely helped me get my internship right now because that was like a big thing we talked about.
Yeah.
Because they see this like big company on your resume and you did it your first semester of your freshman year and they're like, how did you do that? So I did that. I joined a bunch of clubs. Like I said, Alpha. I started getting more involved. I also was on an e-board of another club. that also I did marketing for them. So then I was doing all of those clubs. I had leadership positions. I was doing the externship while also multitasking a job that I had on campus as a website technician for the EOF office. So I was doing clubs. I made sure to maintain my grades, so 4.0. Um, leadership positions. I talked to basically like everyone that I could talk to. I also just went back and forth between the School of Arts and Sciences and the business school to make sure that I knew kind of people from both ends of it. And then I'm pretty sure, I think I just went to a bunch of office visits and talked to people through there. And then when I started my spring semester, I knew I needed an internship. So that's when I
Hmm.
started making sure that everything looked good, like my grades, that my experience was set, my resume was good, and that's where I started applying. So
Mm.
to apply to internship, you need to like it's not just like apply and done. Like a lot of these ask you for essays. So I was like
Yeah.
making sure my essays were polished. I was making sure my speaking skills were polished as well because I don't know if you remember, but in Beach like I did not talk at all. So I like I did not like talking. I did not like public speaking. So I
Yeah.
had to practice that a lot and a
Hmm.
lot. So I think that helped me as well. And then like you said, I was also multitasking like applying for this scholarship to go study abroad because I knew
Hmm.
that I wanted to do that and like that was a passion that I had. Um and then also I was kind of just doing everything to get into the leadership position I have now, which is another e-board of Alpha because that's a national organization. And when you have that on there, that looks good as well. Um, so yeah, it was a lot. And I think even like during winter breaks and that break during spring, I was still making sure that I did my own learning, which was like the LinkedIn learning, learning new coding languages, learning like Excel, things like that. So and I also applied for Road to Wall Street, and I did get into that as well, which is just like a program that Rutgers has that leads you into Wall Street, and they teach you about financial literacy, but also like financial analysis. So how I would go about doing financial analysis for a company. So yeah.
That is amazing. Oh my goodness. Oh gosh, so much to dive into that. Megan, that's really amazing. And thank you for walking us through what that looks like, right? And it's a series of decision making. It's a series of um, realizing what you need to work on, what you'd like to work on. And when we met during B Star, yes, you didn't talk a whole lot, but you participated. You submitted your homeworks. You did what you needed to do. But I think one of the most valuable parts was the way you and I continued to connect after the fact, because I was like, oh my goodness, like she's doing some amazing things. And when you'd reach out to me or I'd reach out to you, you were always so prompt, so professional, so personable. And so to me, just as a professional, it's a value to me to see that you're making an effort and we're connecting. And so literally as opportunities come up, I'm like, oh, hey, Megan, I have this thing. Do you want to be featured on it? Or I'm going to have my very first podcast college student podcast guest. Megan, I want you to be on that. But literally, like you said, you you know, our first interactions, but you were still super respectful, you were still really awesome, and you're participating in the way you felt most comfortable. And so it's actually been a really beautiful journey to see you just continue to blossom and just work hard and do your thing. Like you have a permanent cheerleader in me, because you know I'm like in your LinkedIn comments like, yes, go Megan, or this is awesome. So I appreciate you just kind of sharing that insight in, and I think a lot of either just fellow college students like yourself, or I think even professionals who are working right now could learn from your diligence, could learn from your perseverance, and also could learn from your opportunities of improvement, of recognizing where you need to take better care of yourself as well.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
a lot of people just don't have maybe they think don't have the time, but I feel like it's all about time management
Hmm.
and making sure you write down like you have to write things down and set your
Yes.
priorities straight before you do anything.
Absolutely. It's so necessary. So, one of my last questions to you, Megan, is so one of your goals, right, is to just be more mindful of your
Mhm.
self-care and well-being. So, what does wellness mean to you?
To me, I think after experiencing what I have, wellness just means to me making sure that my mind and my body feels right.
Mm-hmm.
And that pertains to like whatever I'm doing. So if I ever feel upset or like maybe brain foggy, to just take a step back from the situation and make sure that I'm okay, whether that be like through anything like going on a walk, exercising. So I think just wellness means knowing how to prioritize yourself,
Mm-hmm.
um, and taking care of yourself in whatever way that you feel more comfortable, because everybody is different. So I think just like knowing how to take a step back from a situation that's not making you feel comfortable.
That's really important. That's really, really important. And when you're thinking about, I mean, when you and I met through B Star, and as you know, the work that I'm doing, that my company is doing, but also just in
Mhm.
general, just reflecting on your experiences, what would you say, or what would you say to a fellow student who's only in school and looking at things from a one set mind frame that's not really thinking about why it's important to think about their mental well-being or think about managing their money or their time or skill development? What would you say to the student who really needs to be thinking about themselves from a holistic perspective?
Right. I think that if you focus too much on one thing, obviously you're going to forget everything else, and that's going to catch up to you sooner or later. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're not thinking about money, maybe you're going to be very bad with finances and you're not going to have enough for something in the future, like maybe if you want to put a down payment on a car or a house. And if you're
Yeah.
not thinking about your mental well-being, eventually if you're doing so many things, you're going to reach a point where you can't anymore, and you're going to have like either like a really bad breakdown or maybe like a spurt of anger, and you're going to
Mm.
mess something up that you didn't mean to. And same thing like with your skills. If you're focusing too much on something else and maybe not developing your skills, whether that be professional skills or personal skills, you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to know what to do in any other situation for yourself. So like let's say you have to learn now how to live alone, you're not going to know how to do anything for yourself. It's going to be very difficult multitasking what you wanted to do and also that
Mm-hmm.
skill that you could have learned when doing something else. So I think balance is very important. I think you should know a little bit of everything, even if you're not mastering one thing to its full potential,
Right.
um, because it's very healthy to be a well-rounded person. And if you're not, obviously, like something won't be balanced and something else is going to fall apart. So make sure that you focus on everything.
I appreciate that and thank you. And part of that too, it's not doing it alone either, right? It's finding resources
Hmm.
on campus. If it's your mental well-being and you want to see someone, there's usually a lot of free counseling services on college campuses, and you want to talk to somebody about, hey, I'm in a tough relationship situation, or my classes are overwhelming, I don't know where to start with this, or every time I go to my advisor they don't call me back. I don't know what to do,
Hmm.
but that's what counseling is for. And as a college student, I never took advantage of it. I didn't see what the point was. It didn't make sense to me, until later in
Hmm.
life when you're having to pay for your own services. You're like, I
Yeah.
should have done it when it was free. And then also financial management, because there's so many temptations that look so good, right? Sign up for this
Hmm.
thing and get a freebie, or sign up for that thing and get a freebie, but you're not realizing the long-term repercussions. So finding the help, attending the things, getting the support so that you can be your best well-rounded self. So Megan, I
Hmm.
really appreciate your insight and you coming onto the show today, just sharing so freely and so openly about your experience as a first generation college student. as a double major, incoming double major with a minor at Rutgers, working, interning at the most valuable company in the world. Now, adding Latin to your list of languages, the cool things that you're a part of. I just really appreciate you coming in to share your insight, and I can't wait to stay in touch with all the things, amazing things that you do ahead.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me. It's also been amazing keeping in touch with you and learning about all the amazing things that you and your company are doing.
Thanks so much. And thank you, everyone who has listened in today. If you want to watch this episode, again, it's on YouTube. Subscribe so you don't miss when a new episode is live. Take us on the road with you on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Listen Notes, YouTube Music. You can find the podcast there. And until next Wednesday, take good care, everyone. Have a great one.